What's going on, my AMC kings and queens? I hope you guys had a great weekend. I'm feeling pretty stoked right now. I'm looking at AMC currently up 5% up on the day. I did want to give you guys a little bit of a warning sign. It would make sense, or it would not surprise me, I should say, if they, early Monday, they let us run a little bit, get people excited about buying, these call options and then attack us the rest of the week, right? So I am bullish on the month of August. Obviously, I've been saying that, but I just want you guys to understand that there's a potential that they let it run on a Monday like this to pound us down, trying to bait us into those calls. So personal advice, just a warning flag. If you're not familiar or understand options that well, I would be very careful. And that's just my personal thought on that. So moving on, I did want to show you guys something. So True Demon sent me this over the weekend. It's an article from 2000 from the SEC, but basically Chairman Levitt in 2000, before he left, had basically heavily scrutinized payment for order flow. So I know that we've been looking at the SEC and people have been, chanting and claiming like, hey, what do all the rules mean if there's no enforcement? And I agree with you guys. I think there needs to be enforcement. I'm hoping this new regime, Gary Gensler and his team are taking this seriously, and I think that they are. But just the issues that we're bringing up, and granted, the information, what we're finding is very powerful and super damning. And so great job on that. And obviously we're making it to the point where they can't ignore it. But this is something that they've known for quite some time. Which actually, in a sense, makes me even more angry at the SEC and the regulatory bodies that are kind of above all of this, because they've had people screaming from the rooftops, this is not good. So we're going to kind of go over this article and just let you guys know that this is something that's been looked at and ignored for a really long time. And I'm hoping that with the light that we are shedding, like we as apes, I think that we are a main factor in hopefully getting this looked at. And again, like I said, rules are one thing, enforcement is another thing, but we are making it so they cannot ignore this. So we're just going to go over that article today and see kind of what comes from it, what they really talked about. So True Demon did a nice job. He went through and he highlighted some pretty important parts. We're just going to look at this now. So payment for order flow is a method of transferring some of the trading profits from market making to the brokers that route customer orders to specialists for execution. Internalization, now, if you're familiar with this channel, this is something we went over before, allows a firm to capture trading profits from trading against the firm's own customers. However, payment for order flow and internalization create conflicts of interest for brokers because of the tension between the firm's interests and maximizing payment for order flow or trading profits generated from internalizing their customers' orders and their fiduciary obligation to route their customer orders to the best markets. So they have an obligation to do that, but instead they're internalizing, they're creating conflicts of interest. And really it's just a way for them to gain money. And so here's the thing. If the payment for order flow brokers are not routing our orders to the best possible execution, they are not doing their job, right? The second part that he had highlighted right here was, in the multiple trading environment, specialists on the competing option exchanges typically will promise to match the displayed prices of other exchanges. If widespread, these passive price matching practices may weaken the incentive to display competitive quotes, because displaying a superior quote does not necessarily ensure attracting the additional order flow. So these guys don't even want to, they're not even inclined, or there's nothing really pushing them to have a wider, more competitive outlook when it comes to the actual quoting, right? So you're not even seeing the best prices on the actual spreads because they don't want to put it up there. Displaying a superior quote it's not guaranteeing that they're going to get that order flow. And over time, the quotes being matched may become wider, increasing execution costs to investors, right? So it's not good for us either way around. By some measures, the improvements in quoted price experienced after increased multiple listings in August 1999 have been muted, coincident with the increasing prevalence of payment for order flow and internalization. So we could keep moving. In August 1999, the average quoted spread was 46 cents for options, under $20 bid on the old exchanges, and 77 cents on the new exchanges. By November, the average spreads were 40 cents on the old exchanges and 49 cents on the new exchanges. In June, the spreads were 42 cents on old exchanges and 44 on the new exchanges. And as shown in the chart, which you guys are not going to really be able to see this, I'll link the tweet. The percentage of quotations at the maximum width followed a similar pattern. In August 1999, there was a large difference in quotation aggressiveness between the old and new exchanges. Although narrowing over time, the differences still continue to exist back all the way in June 2000 when they're saying this needed to be looked at. In August 1999, the average percentage of quotes at the maximum width was 49% for options, under $20 bid on the old exchanges, and 97% on the new exchanges. So 49% to 97%. By November of 1999, the respective percentages were 21% and 46%. And in June, the percentages were 30 and 36% for old and new exchanges. So in summary, specialists that began paying for order flow back in November, all the way back in November of 1999, were not quoting as aggressively as the specialists not paying for order flow. So the quotes, if they're aggressively quoting, that's better for us. We're going to get the best prices, et cetera, et cetera. We're not seeing that same sort of compassion or passion or drive to do that from payment for order flow brokers. Okay. And the conclusion. So let's round all this out. While there is fierce competition brought on by increased multiple listed products, immediate economic benefits to investors in the form of narrower quotes and effective spreads, by some measures, these improvements have been muted with the spread of payment for order flow and internalization. The staff intends to closely monitor execution quality measures in the options markets. The staff found that the payment for order flow has had an impact on order routing decisions. The staff also found inadequacies in the comparability of the information available at the limit order routing firms' ability to measure the quality of competing markets, and uniform qualitative measures of execution quality among the various market centers would assist order routing firms in making order routing decisions. The staff intends to closely monitor the order routing pattern of the firms that accept payment for order flow. In addition, with greater transparency in order routing patterns and order routing inductments in October 2001, firms should anticipate greater scrutiny from customers and the public. So this is back in 2000. They're saying, hey, the public is going to eventually come after your guys' ass and the customers, right? They're going to see what's going on, and it's not a fair game. The staff expects firms, so the SEC expects firms to seek the best possible executions for their customer orders, irrespective of payment for order flow or other routing inducements. So the SEC, regardless of what you're getting on your end for payment for order flow, how much you're making, the SEC expects them to respect basically the commitment of best order execution. So it's unfortunate that this guy, he left, and this is back in 2000. And I don't think that anything has happened since then. I mean, it's kind of fell dead, right? It's slowed down. So it's really unfortunate. And it says, True Dream in here, this is his, I got to give credit again because he's the one that went through. I didn't look into the Chair Levitt. I haven't seen too much information on him, but he's saying that 3 months following the report, the follow-up of these events never really materialized as the 9/11 attacks focusing on promotion instead of new regulatory efforts ignored massive put contracts against several different things. And they were open less than a week before 9/11. And, you know, obviously that's a little bit of just tinfoil hat theory. So it's interesting to see, but he does note that those put contracts were directly linked to a former CIA executive, which I think is very unique. And then the new guy that replaced the original Chairman Levitt, he's saying he basically failed to handle the whole the INRA situation and has kind of been known to chasing political advancement while kind of ignoring his role of regulating these rules. I mean, it makes sense because, look, in 2000, this is like a screaming red flag, like saying, hey, you guys need to look at this. New chairman comes in for the SEC, and it was shoved under the rug, right? And so when you have people like Charles Gasparino or whatever the hell his name is, and he's talking about payment for order flow being good for people, I just don't buy it. He's saying it's giving minorities a stronger chance to invest. They don't need payment for order flow. We don't, nobody else is, payment for order flow is not good for us. I think as most apes have kind of been here on this journey, you guys have understood or began to learn that it really is our demise, which is why you're seeing a lot of the big streamers, content promoters, things stepping away from things like Webull now. We already knew about Robinhood, but see, Webull was like another thing. And you guys have seen my videos. You guys know how I feel about that. They're just as bad. In fact, they take 52 or to 54% of their payment for order flow is coming directly from Citadel, which is crazy to think, right? So we've known since 2000 this is needed to be looked at. They're screaming from the hills that, hey, this is a red flag. We had a couple of regimes in afterwards that didn't really seem to serve the SEC in the way that we believe that it should be served. But I think that Gary Gensler, I really do believe that he's in it for us. And all these things that were addressed back then are going to get looked at now. So interesting stuff. Again, you guys, you know, payment for order flow is bad. You guys need to be direct to your orders. If you're on Webull, obviously, you know, previous orders, there's not much you could do about that because the damage is already done. But if you guys, and there's no need to even transfer your shares, just make sure you don't obviously have lending on. But when it comes to new stock purchases, I would highly advise and recommend that you guys look into brokerages that have the capability of routing or directly routing your orders. So very interesting stuff. I think that we have the right people in charge. This stuff has been looked at all the way back in 2000. What we're finding out, you know, people have seen this before. Payment for order flow is just not good. With that being said, I will catch you guys on the next video. I love you long time. Peace.